All right, so I'll just go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for being here. So my name is Jennifer. I am the branch manager for the downtown Orlando office here in downtown Orlando. So, so I'm happy to be here, do this training for you guys. Just a quick look into my background. I've been in real estate since 2016. I was a leasing agent before, decided to expand on that career and get my license. And I've been doing real estate ever since. I went full time in 2018 and I haven't looked back. Open houses was a huge starter for my career. Back when I had no business, nobody knew who I was. I was out there doing open houses for the top producers in my office. I would go on the MLS and I would click my office active listings and I would just choose my favorite ones that I knew were empty. And I would ask the agents, text them or call them or show up to the office and say, hey, I love your new listing here. Can I go do an open house? So, or if they were doing an open house, I would just show up and I would do videos, virtual tours. I would take pictures, make flyers, or just send it to people that I know. Hey, this house is for sale, by a good friend of mine. If you're interested, give me a call. And just doing stuff like that at the very beginning. This is a career. You have to be a self-starter. You cannot wait for other people to tell you where to go. You cannot wait for other people to tell you to go here, go there, do virtual tours, go see these new homes, go do an open house. You're self-employed, right? So this is going to be on you to take those actions to build your name and your brand and get yourself out there. It gets easier once you start getting referrals, once you start getting business over time. But at the beginning is the hardest part because you do really have to get out there and hustle. You cannot wait for people to tell you, go here, do this open house, go to these new construction homes. If you're going to wait on people to tell you what to do, I'll tell you right now, you're not going to make it because this is on you. You're self-employed and you have to be a self-starter in this industry. Okay. So basically what we're going to get into today is how to do an open house. All right. Like I said, this was one of the biggest starters for my career because I did a lot of open houses when I first began. So for me, this helped a lot to get my name out there and kind of gain that experience on how to host an open house. All right. You can host an open house for any realtor. It doesn't have to be an agent that's with lifestyle. You can even go to another brokerage. Say, for example, one of your close friends works for Coldwell Banker, right? They have a nice listing 10 minutes from you and you're good friends with them. So you know that. So, hey, why not? Ask them, can I do an open house this weekend? Can I stop by your open house? Can I do some videos? Can I do some pictures? And use the people as leverage to have content and to get out there. That's going to help you a lot. And remember, they don't have to be with lifestyle. The only thing you have to be wary of is that you always have to ask permission to do an open house or market a property. Just make sure you always ask permission before you do anything. Okay. So I guess I'll get started on one of the main topics is planning an open house. Okay. So obviously we kind of went to finding the open house. If you have a listing, then you should be doing open houses. That is if, it's presentable and good for an open house. If you don't have a listing that you can do an open house, like I said, you can reach out to other agents in your direct brokerage or even other agents in different brokerages and set up an open house for yourself. Okay. Before you do any of that, however, I do suggest to actually have the right supplies before you just jump in and start doing open houses. Okay. Which, everyone's responsible for their own open house supplies. This is your business. You should have the tools that you need to host an open house whenever, wherever. Okay. So the main things you're going to want or actually need in order to host open houses is signs. Number one. That's going to be the most important thing. A lot of us we don't think about, oh, I need signs, this and that, because we're focused on, social media, lead generation, trainings, all that stuff. But if you do want to start getting out there and doing open houses, you need signs. There's no way around it. Okay. I bought my signs at the association the Orlando Regional Realtor Association. If you are a member, they have a small store inside of the association where they sell, for sale signs, open house signs, all kinds of stuff there. So I go there because that's where I was able to find the cheapest open house signs. They're just a regular sign shaped like a house in blue, says open house with an arrow. So I had about 12 before I let other agents borrow them and they lost them. But I would suggest to have at least 10 to 15 signs available. Just because if it is a bigger neighborhood, you have a lot of roundabouts, a lot of turns, you're going to need more signs because you're going to need a sign at every corner where you need somebody to turn. You have to act as a GPS to people with these signs. So that's kind of the mentality you have to put yourself in. Of course, people have GPS, but if they're driving by and they don't know the address, they're going to be relying on your signs to get there. So if you don't put enough signs to help people navigate the roads to get to the actual house, you're not going to get people that show up. Okay. And that's the one thing that you really need to make sure that actually happens, is that the people can find the property. Because if you're not putting the signs up correctly, you're not getting there in time, you don't have enough signs, you don't put them in the right place, all that can hinder the outcome of your open house. So you need to plan accordingly, which means look at a Google map, look at Apple Maps, put in the address of the home before you leave your house, the day before, a couple days before, whatever it is, plan appropriately, which means you looked up the property on maps, right? You've seen how many turns it takes to get there from the main road, and you plan to put a sign at every single one of those corners pointing to the house. Because remember, you are going to be the one guiding these people to the house with the signs. So make sure you have enough. I probably paid about, I don't know, $6, $7 per sign. So in total, if you do it cheap, you could probably get enough signs for 60, 70 bucks. Okay. If you want to do personalized signs with your logo, your picture, the lifestyle logo, that might cost you a little more, but either way, just get it done. Even if you have to just get cheap signs or borrow signs for now, just make sure you have those ready and then plan out your route. Okay. So you say, oh, I got to take a left from the main road here. And then I have to go around a roundabout, and then I take a right, and then I have to take another left. All those are points where you should be putting a sign. Everywhere that you have to turn, there needs to be a sign right there. And it needs to be an arrow pointing towards the direction of the home. So you need to make sure you get this on point, because if you don't, you're going to be sitting at an open house with nobody showing up and you're just wasting your time. So time management is very important in this industry. As you know, we are all working for ourselves and we're all out there busy. So make sure you don't waste your time doing these open houses and not planning appropriately. Because if people cannot find the house, you're going to be sitting there wasting your time. Okay. So make sure you understand where the main turns are and you put a sign in every single one. Sometimes I even put 2 signs on one corner just so I get both sides of the traffic. So just make sure that your signs are visible, and that they are on every corner where people need to turn to get to you. Okay. I always suggest to show up to the open houses at least 30 minutes before you're ready to begin. Okay. Because this is going to give you time to put out your signs, right? You have to pull over on the side of the road, you have to grab your signs, and then you're running across the street, everyone's staring at you, you're sweating, you're all dressed up for your open house, but then you're like a mess when you're done. So give yourself time so you're not rushing around looking like an idiot in the street putting up signs. So always give yourself at least 30 extra minutes before your open house starts to get there. Okay, so you can put all your signs out, go back to the property, put everything out for your setup, go to the bathroom if you need to, and then prepare yourself for people to start showing up. Okay. You never want to get there 5 minutes before you start, a couple of minutes before you start, because then you will not be prepared and you're going to give a bad impression to people who show up to your open house. You don't want people showing up and you're shuffling through paperwork, or you're just running back from the car because you just are full of sweat from running around putting up signs. you don't want to meet people that way, right? You don't want to meet people while you're trying to set up stuff either. So make sure you give yourself enough time to get there, put up your signs, and then set up at the property. So my rule of thumb is always 30 minutes before my open house starts. All right. Also, I'm going to just touch on promoting your open house on the MLS. If you haven't had a listing, you can put that you have an open house to the public on the listing through the MLS. However, the MLS does take a little bit of time to shoot that information out to the third-party vendors such as Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com. So if you really want that to be promoted to the public, I suggest that you put the open house on your listings at least 3 to 4 days ahead of time, which means if you're trying to plan an open house for, let's say, Saturday, you should be putting the open house on the MLS at least by Tuesday or Wednesday, the latest. Don't go and put it on Friday at the last minute. It's not going to be seen by anybody. They're not even going to know, even Thursday, because they take a lot of time to shoot out that information from the MLS. And you want to make sure you do it with a couple of days ahead of time so that people who are searching houses on the internet are going to see, oh, look, they're doing an open house on Saturday. Let's stop by on our way to the store. Or, oh, we have plans, but maybe we can stop by since it's at this time or whatever. And people will see that. And if they're really interested in the area and they've already been shopping in the area, chances are they're going to want to stop by the open house. Okay. So make sure that you're promoting these things on the MLS ahead of time and not just throwing it up on a Friday afternoon and you're doing the open house the next day, because then nobody's going to see it. And you just defeated the whole purpose of putting it up on the MLS, because that's going to promote it to the public, basically. Okay, so I suggest to always take care of those things early on in the week and just go ahead and put it in the MLS on Monday or Tuesday. So that way the whole week it's being promoted to the public. Okay. So as far as supplies, back to that, like I said, you will need at least probably 10 to 15 open house signs. So make sure you have that before you start planning to do open houses. Also, you want to make sure you have some sort of sign-in sheet. Give me 1 second. I'll show you what I use. Now, this is just a free template from the internet. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy, to be honest. Okay. So if you see here, can everybody see my screen? Can you see my screen, Yvonne? Okay. Cool. So this is just a generic open house sheet that's from the internet. It's very simple, for free. They have nicer ones that you can pay for, like on Etsy, Fiverr, stuff like that. Or you could create your own on Canva if you're a creative like me. But it's up to you. I didn't have time, so I just found one on the internet and saved it and been using this one. Very simple. You want to make sure that you are capturing their name, their phone number, their email, and if they have an agent already. I would say that's probably one of the most important questions that you need to ask when people are coming to your open house. You always want to know, do you have a realtor? You know, are you already working with an agent? Because that's very important, because if they are working with an agent, you know, you have to be compliant and not solicit other people's clients, which means you're not trying to steal another agent's client. You can get in a lot of trouble for that. If another agent finds out you were trying to solicit their client, take their client as your own, you could get a complaint, you know, and that wouldn't be good. So just make sure you're very wary about people walking in, because a lot of times people will just go into open houses, even if they do have a realtor that they've been working with. Their realtor may be busy, their realtor may be doing other things, or maybe they just didn't even contact the realtor. They just drove by and decided to come in, you know, so you can't blame the agent for that. People do whatever they want a lot of the times. And I've seen it a lot. So people will show up without their agent. So just make sure that you are always asking, oh, are you currently working with an agent? Sometimes they'll say yes, sometimes they'll say no. Sometimes they'll lie and say they have an agent, even when they don't. And in that case, just let them be. They're not interested in representation right now. You don't want to pressure them into hiring you either, you know, because a lot of people don't like those type of tactics. So you want to make a good impression is the main thing. It's not about forcing people to do what you want. You want to make a good impression. That's more important than anything else. And with that, it just comes with listening to people's needs and asking the right questions. If you're good at conversating with people and really honing in on what their needs are, that makes you a good agent, honestly. And people can see that. Human connection is something that is undeniable. It's either there or it's not there. So if people see, hey, this person, they care about my needs, they're asking the right questions, they seem very professional, very polite, chances are they're going to want to talk to you and they're going to want to know more. Okay. So always treat everybody as if you're trying to make a new friend. Don't try to be too salesy and say, oh, do you have an agent? Are you wanting to buy a house right now? What's your budget? Are you pre-approved already? Because most likely you're going to turn them off from that right at the very beginning. Obviously those questions can come later, once you get to that point, but always try to warm up the conversation before you just jump in and start trying to be their agent and sell them a house. Okay. So basically this sign-in sheet is just very simple, cut and dry: name, email, phone. Are you working with an agent? Then there's this nice little section on the side that says, what are your current real estate needs? Okay. So this is just an extra bonus space where it kind of gives people an opportunity to kind of pinpoint what they're doing there, which is pretty much my icebreaker when I do open houses is, hey, what brings you guys in today? A lot of them will laugh and just say, oh, I was just in the area, or, oh, we're looking for a house, or, oh, we live up the street, or, oh, I'm looking for my mom. She lives in da-da-da, or whatever. So people have their reasons, and you just have to find what those reasons are. So this kind of helps to find out, and help you remember what they were looking for. So you have a box for just looking, need to buy now, plan to buy within a year, or planning to sell. Okay, so you never know who's walking in the door. It could just be somebody who just started looking, doesn't have a realtor yet, but just wants to see what's on the market. You could have somebody who has an agent, but they just wanted to see the house in person, so they decided to stop by. You could have somebody who's not ready, but they do plan to buy maybe sometime this year or early next year, or even a seller. Maybe they stopped in because they want to see who you are, and what you're doing to sell that house. So you never know who's walking in the door. I've had all of these situations doing open houses, people in the neighborhood who wanted to sell, people who weren't ready but were going to buy in the future, people who were looking for somebody else, people who were looking for themselves but didn't have an agent. So you will deal with pretty much almost every situation, which is why I like to use my icebreaker as, hey, how are you today, guys? Are you enjoying the day? What brings you in? And I kind of like to start with those icebreakers with people just so they can start talking about themselves, because really once you give that doorway for them to kind of talk about themselves and what they want, it's free game. People love talking about themselves, right? So they're going to go on and on. Oh, we live here. We've been looking for a house, or we love this area, and da-da-da, or, my mother's moving from New York and we're trying to help her find a place close to us, and then you just let them talk. You just let them talk and ask little questions here and there to keep it going, and you listen. The most important part is that you listen. Don't just listen to answer, listen and take in what they're saying, and then you kind of pinpoint what they want and what they're looking for from there. Because if they don't have an agent and they see that you're working to find out what they want and need right off the bat, chances are they're going to think that you're a good agent and they're going to want to work with you. And then it's just going to be on you to follow up and actually seal the deal. Okay. Let me check the chat real quick. Can you send this to Chelsea? Chelsea, are you talking about the open house sign-in sheet? And Yvonne said, can you put a link to the sign-in sheet? Yeah. If you guys want to shoot me your emails, yeah, I can send you this sign-in sheet. But like I said, you can also just look it up on your own or find one that you like on the internet. Etsy is great for things like this too. So is Fiverr, really cheap. You can get all kinds of stuff like that, or even just create your own. Okay, very simple. But if you guys want, I can send this to you guys through an email as well. Okay, just always have a blank one ready to go on your computer. So that way, when you do a house or an open house, you can just print it and go. Okay. Or just have stacks of blank ones and just bring one with you. That's what I do. Alrighty. So, where was I? Where was I? Oh yeah. So icebreakers, very important. I feel like what I see lagging in a lot of new agents is that they don't know how to communicate. That's the main problem I'm seeing with a lot of new agents. They're either too scared, intimidated, or they just don't know what to say, right? And I had that problem too at the very beginning when I was a new agent. I was nervous. I didn't want to sound stupid. I was shy. It's one of those things you have to work through, right? And learn how to make that genuine connection with somebody and not just be like, oh, let me sell you this house, right? You want to make a genuine connection there. I'm not telling you to make these people your best friend, but at the same time, you want to make some sort of genuine connection to them to where they're going to trust you and know, oh, this person really does care about my needs. Because I mean, let's be honest here, realtors have a terrible reputation, especially here in Florida. So I've heard it from multiple people, so it's crucial to show that you care and ask the right questions, because that will make you stand out from the rest who only care about a commission check, right? Are you going to be the agent who actually cares about what they want and need? Or are you going to be the agent who's just trying to sell them this house that they're doing an open house and over again? If they want the house, they want the house. If they don't, they don't. People usually pretty much know as soon as they tour the house whether they want it or not, from my experience. So there's no need to sit there and try to force them to buy the house you're doing an open house. The main intention with doing an open house needs to be in your mind always is you're just trying to make connections, right? You're trying to make connections and get some new leads, right? You don't want to call them a lead. Never call someone a lead in front of them. That's a sales term. But you just want to go ahead and try to nurture those relationships that you are establishing at these open houses. The open house is kind of like the icebreaker, and then after that should be where you try to build that trust and that relationship between you and that person so that they can actually work with you. So it's a relationships business. It's all about nurturing these relationships. So anyways, I keep going on a tangent about icebreakers, but definitely want to make sure you have the right supplies. So don't even leave your house or agree to do an open house unless you have the right supplies, because you don't want to look unprofessional and you don't want to look unprepared, because at that point, people are going to look at you like you're not a good realtor because you didn't come prepared. You don't have the supplies. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not giving a good impression. That's not making anyone want to work with you as a realtor. I promise. First impressions are everything. So make sure you have your supplies ready, your sign-in sheet. You should have business cards. And I tell my agents, they always ask me, oh, I don't have business cards. Should I get business cards? And I say, yes, you should get everything you can, which is a virtual card and paper cards. I use those paper cards at my open houses. I also pass them out to my friends and family, and I ask them to pass them out. All right. So there's so many things you can do in order to establish your branding, your name, and kind of getting out there. So every time I do an open house, I'm bringing a stack of business cards with me, because I stack them next to the sign-in sheet. And then I have a stack of the information of the house. So I have flyers that have the information of the house. I have my sign-in sheet, and I have a stack of business cards ready to go. All those things are the top things that I'm grabbing. I already have my signs in my car. So I make sure I have my signs, my sign-in sheet, a flyer with the information about the house, and my business cards. Those are the 4 most important things that I'm remembering when I'm heading out to do an open house. All right. Also, you're going to want to bring, maybe some drinks, some refreshments, some snacks. I like to keep it light and healthy because that's the type of person I am. I don't eat a lot of junk food. I don't eat red meat or pork. I don't eat stuff like that. So I'm very, very particular about what I eat. So when I do open houses, I just like to bring some cold, fresh waters. And also I like to do maybe just some snacks. I like to do like a bowl of bananas or like crackers or cookies sometimes for the kids, because the kids love the cookies. So just something simple that won't go bad if I leave it out, and that somebody can just grab and go is what I'm thinking. You don't want to bring a full course meal You don't want to bring a messy dessert that's going to mess up your seller's house and leave a mess everywhere. You don't want to bring something that's going to leave crumbs all over your seller's carpet, so just be considerate also of the person who owns the house. You don't want to bring something that everyone's going to make a mess. This is not a party, right? This is an open house. It's just for people to tour the property. It's not to throw a gathering. So just make sure you bring something light, and something that's not going to make a mess either. So definitely bring something. Obviously, like it's hot here in Orlando, like all the time. So I'm always having cold waters on deck, because a lot of the times these people walking around the neighborhood, or they're driving, or they came from being outside, so they're parched. So as soon I'm standing there at the door, hey, how are you? Welcome. Please grab a cold water. Get out of the heat, and they kind of smile and laugh about it, because I joke about it or whatever about it being so hot, and then I give them a cold water, and it makes them feel welcome. You know what I mean? So it's just simple little things like that you can do to make a good impression on people, and just be very welcoming. You're hosting, an event. You're hosting an open house. So act like it, act like the host. Act like you're throwing an exclusive VIP gathering. It's not a party, but at the same time, you want everyone to walk in that door to feel like they're welcome, they're special, like they're meant to be there, because people want that from an agent, especially if they're thinking about working with you. That's how they're going to feel working with you, so they're going to consider that, you know what I mean? So just always have the right things ready for when the people show up, which is your snacks, your drinks, your sign-in sheet, your cards, and then a flyer of the information of the house. The main parts you want on that flyer for sure is going to be the price, of course, the HOA fees and any other fees involved, square footage, any renovations or updates that were done to the property, and yeah, I mean, that's about it. Just the main parts, any fees involved, square footage, upgrades, features, and maybe a few pictures of like the main areas. Like I like to include like the kitchen, the master, the exterior, of course. So I always like to create a flyer. I use Canva. So I'll go on Canva and I'll create a quick flyer that says open house with all the information, a few pictures, and that's it. I don't put a date. I don't put a time, just because if that is my listing, I will be doing another open house. So I can reuse those flyers if I don't put a specific day and time. So in order to save yourself a lot of ink and printer paper, do not put a date and a time if that's your listing, because you already know you're going to be doing another one most likely if it doesn't go under contract. So you can always save those flyers for the next weekend when you do another open house. Or if you have another agent doing your open house, you can give it to them and say, hey, I have these extra flyers, use these instead of printing more, So I like to do that too, just because sometimes it does take a little while to sell a listing. And sometimes it will take several open houses to sell one listing. So, just save those flyers and don't put a day and a time so that you can reuse them. Let's see. So we talked about supplies, ambiance. It's important. A lot of us don't think about it, but you got to create the vibe, right? You got to create, not just you sitting there, welcome, look around, thanks. Like you want to create a vibe. You want them to be welcomed. You want it to smell good. You want it to look good. You want it to feel good, right? I like to play some music. So sometimes I'll put on like very ambient, like trancey music, or like, I don't know, people like to call it elevator music. So I like that kind of music though, because it helps me to relax. It helps me to focus. And it creates a relaxed kind of vibe in the house. So I like to put on like ambient music, like on a speaker, or if the homeowner has like, what do you call it? A TV or a system that I can play music, I'll put it on there. Also, if the house is a little musty smelling or old, you might want to bring a candle or some spray or something to kind of freshen it up a little bit. If you have to turn on the fans, crack some windows, you also want to make sure all of the lights are on. Every single room, kitchen, bathrooms, garage, Everything you always want to make sure all the lights are on. Lighting always makes it better. So turn on all the lights as soon as you get there, open the blinds in all the rooms. Don't just leave it like a dark, creepy room in there just because you think people are not going to look. Trust me, people are going to look everywhere. All right. Because that's what people do. They look at everything. So make sure you have all the lights on and that you open all of the curtains so that you get all of that sunlight coming into the house, because it's going to make the house look nicer. And people like natural sunlight in a house. So just open all the curtains, all the, turn on all the lights, turn on all the fans, bring a candle or spray if it smells funky anywhere. And just make sure you create a more homey vibe for people to actually want to be there, want to look around. I've been to a few properties that it smells awful and it always turns off the buyers every single time. It's just from experience I'm speaking. I'm not just saying this because I don't like bad smells. I'm saying this because I've had tons of buyers, as soon as they walk in the property, they're turned off because they don't like the smell in the house. It could be the carpets need to be changed. It could be there's mold growing somewhere. It could be there was previous water damage. It could be the people were smokers who lived there. Whatever it was, there's a million reasons why a house could smell funky. So just try to take care of that as to the best of your ability. I'm not saying go crazy and clean the house or anything, but crack a window, light a candle, just whatever you can do at that time to make it a little bit more welcoming. Okay. Also, it's always a good idea to kind of depersonalize the property. And what I mean by depersonalize is kind of like take down family photos. If you have big pictures with families and parents and babies, you can ask the seller, hey, can I just put these away for the open house so people can kind of envision themselves and their families in the home rather than envisioning you and your family, which it's nothing personal. You just want to try to give people a chance to envision themselves in this home. Because a lot of people, they do have a hard time envisioning themselves in somebody else's house. If there's already pictures, if there's already furniture, there's already decorations that don't match their aesthetic, they don't match who you are or who the buyer is, maybe they might have a harder time kind of seeing themselves in that house and their families. So it's always kind of a good idea to depersonalize the space and, put the picture somewhere safe in a cabinet, and then you can pull them back out once you're all done or whatever it is. Just, try to create an ambiance where people can picture themselves and their own family in the house. So if you have to just take down a few pictures for that, then why not? Right. So just do that. It's always just trying to get people to see themselves in this house, basically. Okay. So yeah. And then you always want to make sure, that you are always addressing everyone that walks in the door. If you're sitting at the counter, don't just sit there and look up and say, hi, look around, please sign in. You know what I mean? You want to get up from the chair. You want to make eye contact with people. It's a respect thing, don't ignore people. Just get up from the seat, look them in the eyes and say, hey, how are you? Welcome to my open house. What brings you in today? Here's some information. Do you want a cookie? Do you want a water? Do you want me to give you a tour? Okay. That's one of the things I also like to ask people when they come in is I won't assume that they want a tour from me. I'll ask. I always say, hey, do you guys want me to give you a tour, or would you like to take a look around yourself? And I always give them the option. I don't assume they want me to take them around. Some people really don't like that. And they might be like, oh, this person's hovering over me and I don't like it. I'm that type of person. I don't like when people hover over me when I go anywhere. It makes me nervous. It gives me anxiety. I don't like it. So I try to remember that when I'm dealing with people as well. And I will not assume that, oh, these people want me to give them a tour and follow them around the house the whole time. Just kind of feel out the people. They may be with their families and they just want to go with their family and do the tour and then come back to you when they're done. Or you might have, those other people, like an older couple that says, yes, please tell us everything about the property and give us a tour, because they're more formal that way. And they like the information, and they like, being taken around the property. So it just depends on who you're dealing with, but never assume, because you might turn a buyer off by hovering too much on them, and then you might turn them off from even wanting to use you as their agent, so just make sure you are aware of who you're dealing with when you're walking through the door. A lot of people with money, like the higher end clients, they like that constant, oh, let me take you on this tour, look at this, look at that, we did this with you, that. And then you have other buyers who they've bought houses before, they've sold houses before, they live in the neighborhood, like they don't want the whole extra fluff, they just want to take the tour and then get the information, so just be aware of who you're dealing with, and try to be considerate of who you're dealing with, because not everyone is the same. Okay. Okay, so we talked about ambiance, supplies, how to talk to people. What are we doing on time here? 12, we got about 15 minutes. So another important topic that I think we should touch on here also is, safety. As you know, an open house, anybody can walk in at any time, especially us as women. It's always a good idea to try to do the open house with somebody else, or to have some sort of protection for yourself, especially if you're doing it by yourself. I have a knife that I carry with me everywhere. I'm not ashamed of that. I don't care who has a problem with that. I will carry it with me, and I will keep it with me no matter what. And you just have to protect yourself, and you never know who's going to walk in that door. Always be prepared. And like the National Association of Realtors suggests, always have an exit plan. That exit plan means exactly if something crazy were to happen, which door to go out of. You have your supplies on you if you got to make a run for it, which means you have your keys and your phone somewhere you can just grab it, or it's already on you, ready to go. And you have an exit plan, which means the door to leave from. If somebody starts acting crazy, something crazy happens, you already know which way to go. Grab and go, grab and go, grab and go. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not that type of person, but I've been through a lot of my life. And I've had to always protect myself. So just take my advice and always have an exit plan. Expect the best, but prepare for the worst. I like that saying, expect the best, don't be negative, but at the same time, know that something could happen and have a plan, right? So just make sure you're either, having a plan, some protection, and also if you want to do an open house with somebody, do that. I know I like to do open houses with mortgage lenders. So if there's a mortgage lender that you work with a lot, or you're good friends with, or they work in your office, whatever, ask them to do it with you. Mortgage lenders like to do open houses because then they get to meet and talk to buyers as well. So it's a bonus for them. They get to market themselves, their business, and possibly get more clients as well. So it's also good for the people that come in if they have questions about the interest rates, the current financing guidelines, programs available, qualifications. They can talk to the lender, because as realtors, we're not really supposed to be talking about rates and qualifications and mortgages, because we're not licensed lenders, right? We are only licensed to help people buy and sell properties. We are not part of the financing. So it's always good to have somebody there, if you have someone available, to help you with that. And I've actually found that a lot of people actually do like the fact that there's a mortgage lender there, because they ask their questions that maybe they haven't been able to ask anyone else, right? So I always say, hey, this is so-and-so, they work with so-and-so mortgage. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them. And I always kind of point them out, like, yep, they're a mortgage lender. So if you have a question about rates, ask him, not me, because I'm not going to talk about rates. I'm not going to tell people you could get this, you could get that, because I'm not going to get myself in hot water, when it changes the next day, or when somebody can't get that rate. You never know. This market is crazy and it's unpredictable. So don't try to advise people on that stuff, and try to bring somebody with you who knows about it, because it could help you out, so Yeah, I definitely suggest if you want to do an open house with somebody, do it with a mortgage lender. If you don't have one available, then you can do it with another agent. So yeah, so you can always do it with somebody. It makes the time go by faster too, because you're not just sitting there by yourself waiting on people to walk in the door, you know? So yeah, it does help a lot. So yeah. And then what was I saying? Oh, so we talked about safety. Yeah. So okay. So now you got, let's say you did an open house, you got like, I don't know, let's say 5, 6 people, different people that showed up. That's a good open house. Even if you only have 2 or 3 people that showed up, 2 or 3 separate groups of people, I mean, that's still a successful open house. You know, I've had open houses where only 1 or 2 different groups of people showed up. And then one of those people actually ended up being an actual buyer who needs a realtor, you know? So it can even be a successful open house with just one family that shows up, you know? So it's all about the value. And it's not really about the turnout, okay? Because you could have 2 people or you could have 10 people that show up. When you have multiple people coming in the door at the same time, you always want to make sure you address everyone first. Look them in the eyes and say, hey, welcome to my open house. I will be with you in just 1 second. Don't just ignore them and keep talking to the other people that are right in front of you, because then the people who just walked in are going to feel like, oh, well, I'm just bothering this person. They're busy. You know, they're with these other people. They don't even want to acknowledge me. You know, they're busy. Let me leave them alone. And they might be too afraid to sign in, to walk around, just because you haven't acknowledged them. You know, so always acknowledge everyone that walks in the door, even if you don't have time to talk to them because you're with another group of people. Always still acknowledge them with eye contact and say, hi, welcome. I will be with you guys in just a minute. Can someone sign in? That's what I do. Okay. So don't ignore people. Don't be rude. Don't be stuck up. Just say, hey, I'll be with you in a second. Can someone sign in? And then you finish your conversation with whoever you were dealing with before they walked in. Okay. You let them go off after they sign in, and then you deal with the next group. Hey, welcome. So sorry, I was dealing with those other people. How are you today? Welcome. What are you guys looking for? And then you give them the information. Have a cookie, have a water. This is what it's for sale. Give them a little bit of information about the house, you know, and then ask them, do you want a tour? Do you want to take a look around yourself? Please let me know. I will be here. Anything you need. Okay. So yeah, just make sure you're able to manage all of that and not get overwhelmed or start ignoring people because you feel like there's too many people around you. Try to handle it as best as you can by just acknowledging people and just politely saying, hey, I'll be right with you, so that nobody kind of feels neglected by you in a way, okay? Because you are the host. You have to remember that. You're the host. So people are going to be looking to you for answers. People are going to be looking to you to guide them. People are going to be looking to you for the information. So just make sure you act like the host, you know, and address everybody and deal with it accordingly. Try not to get overwhelmed. I had a renovated property I sold in Dr. Phillips. This was like back in 2019, when the market was super hot, you know, before the pandemic. I did an open house, a very, very small renovated pool home in Dr. Phillips. And I probably had within the first hour, like 6 or 7 different people show up, couples, you know, singles, families. And I was overwhelmed, you know, I was like, oh my God, this is so much, like too many people in a small space. Like, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Who do I focus on? I was a mess, right? So everything I'm telling you is from experience and what I've learned from not doing it the right way. You know, never see failure as, oh, you're a loser. People are going to look at me like this. People are going to look at me like that. You know, everyone has an opinion nowadays, especially with the internet. Everybody thinks their opinion matters, right? But the only opinion that should matter to you is your own, you know, and just always try to stay balanced in those situations and not get overwhelmed, you know, because you're only one person, you know, and you can only do so much as one person. So just make sure you manage yourself and try to address everybody in the order that they came in. So if this family came in first, talk to them first. If this couple came in first, talk to them first, and then go on to the next group that walked in, and then go on to whoever walked in last. Just try to manage it as if, you know, they're taking turns, right? So that way you don't get overwhelmed, and just send everybody to go do their own tours. That way you can talk to people and get them to sign in and pass out your cards to everybody. So yeah, you might have to manage dealing with all these different groups of people. So try not to get overwhelmed in those types of situations. And if you know it's going to be a busy open house, bring somebody else with you to help you. You know, like I said earlier, mortgage lender, another realtor, whoever it is. So that way you don't get so overwhelmed by people. All right. Okay, so it's 12:52. It's kind of, nearing the end. I think I went over a lot of important topics. I guess I'll just talk about, afterwards. Obviously, you want to wrap up. Never forget to go grab all your signs once you're done. You can get fined for leaving your signs in neighborhoods or main roads by the city. So make sure you're not leaving your signs anywhere, especially if it has your number, your information. Obviously, they're going to know where to find you. So make sure you pick up your signs and you don't leave them behind like an idiot, okay? So go and pick up your signs afterwards. Never close up shop early, because if you put it online that the open house is till 2 p.m., please make sure you're there till 2 p.m. because you will have those people who show up and say, oh, I saw it online that I was going till 2, but you're already wrapping up at 1:40. Then it's going to make you look bad. You know what I mean? So just make sure you're not doing that. It may get boring, but just stick it out until the time that you put online, because people are going to see that. And they are going to hold you accountable to that. Okay. So make sure you stick there till the end, wrap up all your stuff. Make sure you turn off all lights. If you turn down the AC, turn it back to where it was, so you don't get bitched out by the seller. Excuse my language. And just be responsible, just be responsible. Get all your stuff, turn off all the lights, and make sure you lock all of the and get all your stuff before you leave. And then follow-ups. This is going to be your time to follow up. So if you did the open house on Saturday, either that night or Sunday, just try to either create like a flyer or a thank you message with your business card, and shoot out a text or an email to everybody who attended the open house. Even if they have an agent, I still like to send a thank you message. And I'll add in there, have your agent reach out to me if they're interested, in this property, or if you guys are interested in this property, have your agent reach out to me, and I'll add that in there if they had an agent, just so like I'm making it aware to everybody. I'm not trying to steal your clients. I'm just trying to sell the house, right? So I always like to send out something. Sometimes it's through email, because people will only leave their email. Sometimes people will leave a fake email or a fake number. There's really nothing you can do about it. It happens. It happens in every sales job ever. People like to put fake information. So don't take it personally, but for the ones that you actually have their number or their email, I usually like to do both. I'll send an email saying, thank you so much for attending, and I'll put the link to the listing. So I'll take the link from the MLS and I'll post it in the email and say, here's the link to the house that you saw. Thank you so much. Here's my information. If there's anything I can help you with, I would be happy to. And then I send an email, but definitely text. Text seems to be the best way to connect with people nowadays, especially when they're busy. Email is very overly saturated now. Phone calls, there's too many spam calls now. So the best way to reach people is through text, just hands down. This is just from experience. It's through text that people want to talk. So make sure you send a text and include your business card. If you have a virtual card, include your virtual card. If not, just do a picture or PDF picture of your card. And so they know who you are. You're not just a random text, right? You're a person they actually met in real life. So just leave your information, your card. Hey, it was so nice to meet you at my open house. Thank you so much for stopping by. Here's my card and a link to the listing. If you guys need any information, please let me know. If you want to search in the area for any other houses, please let me know. I'm available and here to help. And that's it. And if they need help, then they'll most likely reach out. If not, then at least you made a good impression, and you got their information. You can follow up later. Maybe they're not ready now. Maybe they're ready later, so just always follow up afterwards, whether it's through email, text. I like to do both. Like I said, whatever works for you. Okay. Okay, somebody said came a little late. What time's best for open house? Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't go over that. When I do open houses, I typically like to do open houses during the day on the weekends because it seems to be the time when people kind of have the most free time. Especially if they have kids and careers. The weekend seems to be the best time to actually get the best turnouts for open houses. So I usually like to do my open houses on like Saturdays from like 11 to 2 or 12 to 3, 12 to 4, those type of times, because the kids are out of school. Most people are not working except for us, of course, right? So it seems to be the best time to actually get people to show up and actually take the time to look around and ask questions. If people are on the go, they're rushing around, they're thinking about work, they're thinking about they're tired, this and that, they're not going to care. They're just going to want to go home, go to sleep, not be bothered, eat dinner, whatever. So you want to get them at a time where they're open, they're listening, they're shopping. So Saturdays during the day just seems to be, one of the best times. Sunday, a lot of people go to church during the day. But maybe you can do it after church, 12, 1 o'clock, and then go till 4 or 5. So I would say Saturdays and Sundays are probably the best. Definitely, late mornings, early afternoons kind of seems to be a good time for people to shop around and really be open to seeing houses that they want to buy. So in my experience, that has been the best time. There are a lot of agents though that they do open houses during the week, like after 5, 6 o'clock. And with the time change now, it doesn't get dark till like 8, 8:30. So there is time to do open houses during the week after work hours as well, if you do have the time to do that. So again, you always have to ask the seller. If you are the listing agent, you always have to ask the seller if you can do this in the house. If you're not the listing agent, then you have to go through the listing agent. So just make sure you're going through the right people, and make sure that the seller is always aware of everything you're doing, or that way you can stay in compliancy and not get chewed out. All right. So that's basically it. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. I guess we'll just take some questions since it's 1 o'clock. I know a bunch of you wanted this open house sheet. I can send it to you guys. So no worries there. Anna, you're welcome. Glad it helps. Does anybody have any questions at all about anything I talked about? Yvonne, you said, where did you get the signs? I got my signs at the association, the Orlando Regional Realtor Association. They have a store inside on Lee Road where they sell all kinds of signs and stuff for realtors. But we also partner with a company called Planet Marketing, and their website is realtorprint.com. They have all kinds of signs, business cards, flags, all kinds of stuff that you can order for your business. If you want to check that out, I will type it right now. I ordered my for sale sign from them, came out really nice. So if you want to check them out, website's in the chat, realtorprint.com. So I hope you guys got some good nuggets from this. I hope that it helped you. And just get out there, ask agents in your office, ask agents that in other offices, drive by areas that you like and stop by open houses that you see. Ask them if you can do virtual tours and stuff. Talk to the agent. There's many ways, guys, many ways. Like I said in the beginning, you have to be a self-starter in this career. You cannot wait for people to tell you what to do. You cannot wait for people to tell you where to go. You have to be a self-starter, just like I was in the beginning. Go do open houses, go do virtual tours, go to networking events, pass out your cards to your families and friends and have them help you promote yourself, post on social media, reach out to people from the past. George is all about Reach, the Reach app. You can also send group chats on WhatsApp, and it'll look like an individual message. with broadcast lists. I've done that before. So just, use your resources. There's tons of them. There's many different ways to meet people and get business in this industry. And if you need help, reach out to your branch managers. You have me and Rodrigo here at the downtown Orlando office. We can give you ideas, whatever office you're at. Reach out to your branch managers or the top producers. Say, hey, can you give me some tips on how to generate business, how to do an open house, or what I should do right now to get started? Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's the main point. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here, guys. Thank you everyone for being here. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something good from it. And then I hope you guys are prepared to do an open house. So I wish you all the best of luck. And thank you for being here, and never give up. Always keep going. No matter what people say about you, always know that you can do it. Sometimes you will be the only one to believe in yourself, but it doesn't matter as long as you believe in yourself. You don't need anybody else to believe in you to make it. You just have to believe in yourself. All right, guys. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed weekend. I hope you all kill it out there. And I hope you guys find some open houses. And I hope that you all win big.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for being here.